Oh. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om and good evening from Pittsburgh. A couple of days ago, as I was watching the Super Bowl, I heard one of the commentators use the word mantra. That such and such coach and such players have a mantra. And I was thinking, at least put an A in there, call it mantra instead of mantra. And I can say all I want about my mantra is do your job, or my mantra is do your best and leave the rest. The word mantra means manaha trayate. That which protects the mind, that which helps one to cross past the mind. And so one may think, fine, I have a mantra like Om Namah Shivaya, and I fire off Om Namah Shivaya in my books and my words. The word mananat has to be included. Mananat means when reflected upon, this protects the mind. When reflected upon, this helps one to go deeper than just the mind. Mananat. We are already using our eyes, our perception. This is called sight. And when you add the Shastra, when you add the scriptures, guidance to our perceptions, to our experiences, then that evolves to insight. Sight plus Shastra equals insight. Our rishis, they had insight. They weren't living life by what they saw, they lived life by vision. Insight is what we refer to as our third eye, the eye of wisdom. Mahashivratri is coming up. We talk about the Trayambakam, the one with three eyes. Insight is what is referred to when we talk about antaha. What is inside of life? What is inside of ourselves? Insight. Prince Arjuna has been graced with insight. He had sight, and now he has insight also. We too have been graced with insight. The fact that we're able to study Bhagavad Gita the way that we are, that is grace. Here in Pittsburgh, 2 days ago we were studying Ramayana, then Sadhana Panchakam, now Bhagavad Gita. What a divine life that each day we have access to satsang. When Puja Swami Chinmaya lived in Uttarakashi or Gangotri, he only had one class a day for 1 hour. And for the remaining 23 hours, he engaged in mananam. Mananat on that mantra. And we are the same. We have satsang for 1 hour and then we can go to work, we can run errands, we can be in school, we can look after our home, and we can reflect on all of this. Do not think that Prince Arjuna is another being. Historically, yes, but the seeker knows that they are Prince Arjuna or trying to identify with Prince Arjuna. Do you feel this grace? And everyone's smiling because I'm looking at them, but as soon as I stop looking at them, we may feel differently. In chapter 11, Prince Arjuna begins the chapter sharing with Bhagavan Krishna that the vignas he was experiencing, the obstacles of ignorance, has been addressed. Bhagavan came and gave him knowledge. The vigna of incertitude. There's doubts about this knowledge. That vigna is gone too. And then identification, that third eye. Ignorance, incertitude, identification. Prince Arjuna thought Bhagavan was only his cousin. That Prince Arjuna was the doer. Bhagavan came and made this message personal. Changed his identification. In the beginning of chapter 11, Prince Arjuna attributes such a smooth journey in his sadhana, in his life, to his Gita Acharya, to God, who's teaching through the Guru, to his Guru, who he knows to be God. Without this grace, one will always be on the surface of life, the surface of scriptures, the surface of themselves. The word guru means heavy, and not physically heavy, though some are physically heavy, but their personalities are deep. Like water, if you go deep into water, there's a higher density or pressure per square inch, pounds per square inch. A guru is like that. They're so deep that they can help you go deeper than Maya to God. And Prince Arjuna gets this now. It took 11 chapters, or 10 and a half chapters, and he gets it. This grace that Prince Arjuna's feeling helps him to be more introvert. He's no longer fascinated by creation. He is fascinated by the Creator who's deeper than creation. And he doesn't end his introversion there. He goes even more to himself, more introvert, from the Creator to consciousness. When we say that a sadhaka becomes introvert, we tend to think only in lifestyle. They're with themselves more. They don't have as many channels on their television. An introvert person is someone who's going deeper than creation, creator, to consciousness. To practice what we learned in chapter 11. As long as you're identified with creation, we will always feel doership. Doership. If you want to grow up from creation to the Creator, we should no longer feel doership, but instrumentship. Instrumentship. Nimitta matram bhava savya sachi. That you are an instrument. In whose hands? My hands, as in the Creator. And if you want to grow up more, it is to shift from instrumentship to beership. That's not a real word, but you get what I'm talking about. You're not even an instrument anymore, you're being. Consciousness is not doing anything. Consciousness is being. Chapter 11 is clearer. You look happier this week than last week. Maybe last week you were in denial about Not knowing, this week you've accepted. We continue to chapter 12. We're going to take up 12.1 to 12.5 first. When you go to a Gujarati person's home, how do they greet you? They say Jai Shri Krishna, correct? Even if you say Hari Om, they'll still say Jai Shri Krishna, correct? All the Gujarati people, right? See, with such pride you're saying Jai Shri Krishna. But I'm not finished my statement yet. You won't be happy afterwards. When you say Jai Shri Krishna, and then sometimes I ask them, so this Krishna of yours, what does Krishna teach? Bhagavad Gita. What does Bhagavad Gita teach? The conversation stops there. How can you love Krishna if you don't know what he stands for? Isn't it? And if you know what he stands for, how can you not love Krishna? And I'm not picking on Gujarati people only. The point being here is it a mantra? Or is there reflection for this to become a mantra? Now I know some people in our Vedanta and Ramayana class are thinking, but Shabariji, she didn't know what she was chanting. Please be careful of comparing yourself to people like Shabariji, or Prince Arjuna, or Hanumanji. Shabariji didn't identify with her body. And to say that we're like Shabariji, that's just the ego that is talking there. Fair enough. Don't get into the habit of picking these exceptions from our Shastras and saying, but what about them? Are you like that? And if you are, would you even ask this question? No. This whole chapter, Prince Arjuna is in love. And he's in love because he has knowledge. And the more he loves, the more knowledge he wants. The more knowledge he gets, the more he loves. It's not just words for him. He's transformed. The way that Madhusudana Saraswati writes about this, great commentary in Bhagavad Gita, he says, when you know Bhagwan is the best, then you also know that Bhagwan knows the best. When you know Bhagwan is the best, you know Bhagwan knows the best, what do you automatically stop doing? Questioning, complaining, criticizing, and on and on and on, because Bhagwan knows the best. Sometimes he teaches me in a hard way, sometimes in a soft way, but Bhagwan knows the best. Shared differently, some organizations, some teachers teach contemplation without knowledge. If you don't know joy, that is Sat Chit Ananda, you can never love sadhana or contemplation enough to reach joy. Without knowledge, you cannot contemplate the way that Bhagavan Krishna can offer contemplation. But when you have this knowledge, you come to love joy. I will go all the way with contemplation till I am joy. Knowledge facilitates love, and love facilitates knowledge. Chapter 12 is about Bhakti Yoga within a Shastra whose focus is Jnana Yoga. In chapter 12, it's as if Bhagavan Krishna is speaking for Prince Arjuna. He can sense how in love Prince Arjuna is, and Bhagavan, he's the Guru. The Guru knows more than the Shishya. The Guru knows what the Shishya is thinking and can speak that. So knowing that Prince Arjuna is in love, Bhagavan plants this question in Prince Arjuna's mind. This chapter begins in Shloka 1, and the way to understand Shloka 1 is the question. Shloka 1 is the question. Prince Arjuna's question is, what is the best practice of bhakti? What is the best way to love Bhagavan? And he asked this question because we have so many different interpretations of bhakti, isn't it? Some people think bhakti only happens in the mandir. Some people think only when you build toilets. others only with your eyes closed. Prince Arjuna specifically asks, is bhakti towards the saguna, that is with name, form, qualities, whom we call Bhagwan, is that better? Or is bhakti towards nirguna, no name, form, qualities, which we refer to as Brahman, better? Everyone caught the question? Which bhakti is better, to Bhagwan or to Brahman? This is Prince Arjuna's question. He wants to know how to love more, because he has this knowledge now. Shloka 2 is known as the answer. The question, the answer, Bhagwan says, saguna. The greater bhakti, the higher bhakti is saguna. To love that which has a name and a form and qualities. And I'm going to reference Sri Rama Gita now, from Ramayana, where Sri Lakshmana also asks Bhagwan Rama, what is bhakti? And do you remember the answer? I've shared this before. What is bhakti according to Sri Rama Gita? Depending. Bhakti is depending. Depending on Bhagwan is bhakti. And when this presence has a name and form and qualities, this depending is more natural, isn't it? When I am traveling and Vyasa sees me through FaceTime, he tries to hold that phone. Or if the reception is not good, he can hear my voice, but he doesn't have anything more. He knows my voice, but he doesn't know more. But when I'm here, there's a form, and there's a name, and there's qualities. He knows my smell, how fragrant and clean I smell all the time. So you see how he can express himself more than just with a voice. This is more natural, this saguna bhakti. Bhagwan specifies what depending means. And here are the three ways Bhagwan says one should depend on Bhagwan. He says, manaha avesha. Manaha avesha, in simple English, means directed. The mind is directed towards the names and forms and qualities. Nama, Rupa, Guna. And if you can do all of that, where do you finally reach? Dhamma. You reach Bhagwan. So directed. Lord Krishna says, Nitya Yukta. Nitya Yukta in English means steady. That one depends on Bhagwan in a steady way. What Swami Tejamayana writes in this lesson is, people's bhakti is like a thunderstorm and like a famine or a drought. Drought, that's the word I'm looking for. Sometimes crying, giving all of their money. I'm just going to live here. And then, 1 hour later, Bhagwan who? Right? What are we eating now? There's no steadiness. Nitya Yukta. We have to be steady in our dependence. And thirdly, Bhagwan says, Paraya Shraddhaya. And this is a very separating factor. Not to have worldly faith, but to have supreme faith. The faith of Sri Shabari with her guru, Rishi Matanga. He said one day Bhagwan Rama will come, and he never said when. And every day she thought, when could be today? When could be now? Would you sign up for this course if I told you there's no end date? There isn't? I have the class signs out right now. Supreme faith. This is what it means to have saguna bhakti. And just think about this, how difficult that is. But with our egos, I only depend on Brahman. I don't know what Brahman is. I don't know how to spell Brahman, but that's who I depend on. And Bhagwan contrasts this actually. In shlokas 3 through 5, he gives the reasoning. So you have the question, you have the answer. Whenever an answer is given, an intellectual person, Prince Arjuna, wants to know why. Why did you say this and not this? So in shlokas 3 through 5, Bhagwan gives the reasoning for his answer towards the question. He says in these shlokas, if there's infinity, Brahman, that also includes infinite possibility. Infinity implies infinite possibility. And if you deny any of that possibility, what have you actually denied then? Infinity, isn't it? If I say infinity can't be there, then that's not infinity. If I think infinity cannot be Hanumanji or Ganeshji, then I actually don't know what infinity is, or I don't believe in infinity. So when we talk about Saguna Bhakti, that is depending on Brahman with name and form and qualities, that too is Brahman, isn't it? Because for me to say Bhagwan is not Brahman, then I don't know what Brahman is. I don't have knowledge about Brahman. And Guruji shares here, Bhagwan, bhakti towards Bhagwan, bhakti towards Brahman, takes you to the same sadhya. Sadhya means destination. Our sadhya is infinite joy. You depend on Bhagwan, you will be independently joyous. You depend on Brahman, you will also be independently joyous. Same sadhya. And so the implication here is to never compare Saguna and Nirguna Bhakti. They are incomparable. Yesterday a young man asked me, why is it that I don't use the word Hinduism? And I tried to explain to him that Sanatana Dharma has no founder, has no founding. There's no time or space and so on. And if you take another religion, there's a founder. There is a founding. So how do you compare these two? So what to do? Cut off aspects of Sanatana Dharma so it fits the mold of other religions and then call it Hinduism. When they're incomparable. Religion should not be compared. Religion should be lived, not compared. We shouldn't compare love. We should live love. Saguna, Nirguna, not to be compared. They're incomparable. And so Bhagavan is clear here. He says, if you want to know whether you're ready for dependence on Nirguna Bhakti, he says, your body should be ever disciplined. So by a show of hands, how many people have ever disciplined bodies? So suppose you do have your hand up, okay? Yes, I have my hand up. I'm ever disciplined. Next is, you should have an ever balanced mind. Hand is still up. Fine, suppose your hand is up for that too. You're on another screen that I can't see, or your camera's not working. The third is, your intellect should be ever content. Disciplined, balanced, ever content. If you have check marks for these, enjoy Brahman. Bhagwan is very clear about this. If you have that depth of purity, that means you also have that depth of preparation. Your Shravana is done. Your Manana is done. When you sit for contemplation, you don't need more knowledge. You don't need to reflect. You're just being that Brahman. When you practice contemplation, is it like that? That there's no listening, no reflecting, just being. Bhagwan very lovingly is telling Prince Arjuna that you're not ready. He's giving the answer. He's giving the reasoning. Who's saying this? Bhagwan Krishna. Who is he saying this to? Prince Arjuna is the best of all of us. And Bhagwan Krishna is teaching him. we should be clear about where our egos are directing us and where Bhagavan is directing us. In 12.6 through 12.10, this is shlokas 6 through 8, Bhagavan takes up the message. What was the first the? The question. The next the was answer. Next the reasoning for that answer. And now comes the message. This is the reasoning why I answered it like this. Here's my message to the actual answer. He's elaborating on Saguna Bhakti here. That's the focus. In Shloka 6, Bhagavan says, Saguna Bhakti looks like, this is a highlight, okay, there's a lot of content here. Sarvani karmani mai sanyasya. Open those words up. Sarvani means all. Karmani, actions. Mai, to me, in me. Sanyasya, you should renounce, give up, tyaga. What does that actually mean? Wherever there's a giving up, what else has to be there? A holding on. What Bhagavan is saying in Shloka 6 is dedicate all that you do to Bhagavan. And by you dedicating all you do to Bhagavan, that will imply sacrifice. When we think of sannyasa, we think of orange, isn't it? Orange is the color of sacrifice, like a fire. But if there's no dedication, there can't be any sacrifice. All of us can dedicate all we do to Bhagavan, and a very simple way of doing this, we had studied in Sadhana Panchakam, before all of your major events, what should you say? Om Namah Shivaya. And then do it. And the more and more and more you chant Om Namah Shivaya before you engage in your karmas, you will start to not just say it, you'll start to think it, you will start to feel it. That's Saguna Bhakti. Do you need to know Sanskrit for Saguna Bhakti? Do you have to live in Varanasi for Saguna Bhakti? Do you have to have your head shaved for Saguna Bhakti? Have you seen my man bun? There's no space, time, or matter. This is Sarvani Karmani. In Shloka 7, the highlight here, the most wonderful word. Samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat. Samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat. So let's go backwards. Sagara in English means? Ocean. Implication being with no end. Even on a cruise ship, once you leave land, you're not that far from land, but you can't see land. Imagine being in the middle of the ocean. This ocean is of samsara. Samsara means that which is always changing. If any of you have a pool, and something falls in the pool, and you try to get it, what is the tendency of what happens? It keeps floating away a little bit, right? So you move in a little bit, it keeps floating away till you fall in the pool. So that's what happens. That's at samsara sagarat. So it keeps changing, but it feels like mrityu. It feels like death. I believe President Trump used the same analogy in his State of the Union address, that half of the crowd looked like death. So maybe he's studying chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. He is samudharta from death. Death here, if Acharya Shankara were to interpret this or use this word, is Atmaha, is suicide. When I'm not giving my all towards enlightenment, that is suicide of this opportunity. And now how this all started is Sam. Sam means well. Ut. Ut means up. And Harta means to take. One who can lift you up well is Bhagavan here, Samudharta. And Guruji gives the example of Gajendra. See that samsara sagarat, that crocodile is samsara in water. A crocodile is most strong. And the only way Gajendra could be free, not by his family, not by his friends, not by his own strength, is when he throws that lotus in the air and samudharta. Bhagwan was faster than the Sudarshan Chakra to catch that lotus. Saguna Bhakti. You study Bhagavatam and you'll have 1,000 examples of this shloka. And the shloka I'd like to highlight, this is one of the shlokas of chapter 8 that I would like to highlight. This is shloka 8, an amazing shloka. Chapter 12. Mayyeva mana adatsva, mayi buddhim niveshaya, nivasishyasi mayyeva, atha urdvam na samshayaha. Bhagavan first talks about the mind, the mana, eva, the mind alone, mayi, in Bhagavan, adatsva should be directed or fixed in Bhagavan. Simple way to think about this is we should become masters of japa. That's what this first quarter is sharing. Our mind should be fixed in God, that is God's name. Masters of japa. You're bathing, you're doing japa. You're setting your alarm clock, you're doing japa. Your alarm clock's going off, you're definitely doing japa. You start your car, you're doing japa. You turn your car off, you are doing japa. You're loading your dishwasher, you're doing japa. You're washing your dishes, you're doing japa. The mind is fixed. After the mind is fixed, mai, in me, Bhagavan says buddhi, your intellect, niveshaya. Your intellect should also be directed or fixed in me, on me. So deeper than doing japa, we should become masters of seva. The intellect is that which determines intention. If my intention is wrong, then it's not fixed on Bhagavan. If my intention is right, that means I'm thinking about God, isn't it? Masters of seva. And that doesn't mean just on Sundays. It doesn't mean just on Tuesdays. It means every interaction you have, you should treat as seva. Imagine you practice seva with your spouse. We say that, don't we? Pati Parameshvara. Pati here doesn't mean husband. It means that we treat our spouse like Parameshvara. Spouse. It doesn't mean that my husband is God, but I visualize God as my husband. That is very different. I visualize my God as my husband. So where's the focus? On Bhagavan, not on my husband. What husband? Masters of seva. Your kids, your infants, your neighbors, your pets. Everything you should feel is seva. That's how the intellect gets fixed in Bhagavan. And if the mind and intellect are fixed, what comes next? Nivasishyasi mayyeva. Alone, in me, you will live. Who's the one who's bound right now? The jiva, the ego. If the mind and intellect are living in God, naturally the ego is going to live in God too. This is that mudra, no? The jnana mudra, the chit mudra. This ego now lives in Brahman. And Bhagavan completes this shloka by saying, Ataha, if your mind, intellect, ego are living in me, urdhvam, you will rise, you will be lifted up, na samshaya, don't doubt this. Na samshaya. Another way to look at this is nischaya. Nischaya is be determined that this will be your biography. Summarizing what we've studied, Nirguna Bhakti, depending on Brahman, involves detachment. For all of us, detachment is not easy. Saguna bhakti, depending on Bhagwan, involves attachment. When I attach myself to Bhagwan, that means I'm no longer fascinated with creation, correct? I'm practicing being an instrument. When I attach, then at the same time there is detachment. The way that Sri Ramana shares this, he says as long as you have a body, so does infinity. So does Brahman. Brahman's body is Bhagwan. See, we're all body oriented. Though you're looking at me, you keep looking at yourself in the camera too, isn't it? Because we're body oriented. So if you have a body, then so does Brahman. That is Bhagwan. We're oriented towards that. We are relationship oriented too, isn't it? When you introduce yourself, you say you're a daughter of so-and-so. You're a worker of such and such corporation. You live over here. Can you have a relationship with Brahman? Is Brahman your friend? Is Brahman your parent? But with Bhagwan, yes, I'm Dasa. I'm Sakya. You can have that relationship. So this is more natural. Depending on Bhagwan, Guruji uses a beautiful line. A beautiful line. He doesn't share where it's from, but I'm presuming Ramayana. He says, Jahi vidi rakhe Rama, tahi vidi rahiye. Which means, as Bhagwan wishes, that's what I will be. Saguna bhakti. Depending on Bhagwan, thy will be done. Simple way to live. There's one message that Guruji shares in his writing here, which I thought is so simple yet so profound. He was talking about students. We're all students too. He was talking about students in school. We're also students in a school. He says, students, they don't love what they study. And if they don't love what they study, they don't study what they love, isn't it? If you think about your son, your daughter, your neighbor, your grandkid, do they love what they study? Probably not, so they actually don't study what they love. Now spin it to you. Do you love what you're studying? Bhagavad Gita, Atma Bodha, Vedanta, and Ramayana. And if you don't, you will not study what you love, which really means you will not follow what you're studying. Jnana should lead to bhakti. Oh.